Hello guys, First767 here. So today we're taking a look at a Derevi Imperial Tactician Blink deck. This is kind of a meme deck because how we win is, well, it's really stupid. Now, do we win? Yes. But it's also how we win that is the stupid part. And this deck does run pretty fast. I'm not joking. Like, you could probably pull off a turn 8 win, which I know is not fast for some people, but like, it's a decently fast deck. I'm not going to say it's stupid fast, but it's decently fast. So anyway, Derevi, she's in Bant colors. She costs Bant to play. She's a 2/3 bird wizard flying. When it enters the battlefield, or whenever... Okay, hold on. Whenever she enters the battlefield, or a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap target permanent. You can pay 1 and Bant and put it onto the battlefield from the command zone. That's the most important part of this deck, is you can get her down easy. And I'm just joking, that's not the most important part, but that's really helpful. So now normally you'll play her and then untap something, but like when you untap this something, you want to be able to cast another spell. So maybe not playing her turn 3 is good, but at the same time you could swing in the next turn and get an extra mana. It all depends on how you want to do it. So Teferi's Time Twist is a 2-drop instant, exile target permanent you control, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. If it enters the battlefield as a creature, it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So exiling it and then coming back at the end of the turn, that's a blink. Exiling it and then it coming right back is a flicker, and I'm going to reference that later, so it's important that we know this. If you want to pop this into 2 times speed, you'll probably get done quicker because I have to read most of these cards. So we have Repudiate, Replicate creates a token of a creature you control. Repudiate counters target activated or triggered ability, which is nice, especially when you see how we win, because we need this to actually stop our stuff from dying. A Flood of Tears, 6-drop, return all non-land permanents to the owner's hand. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents you control, this way you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Most of the time that's going to be Omniscience, which lets us cast our spells without paying their mana cost. Ghost Spiral, 2-drop instant draw card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Edge of Autumn, 2-drop sorcery. If you control 4 or fewer lands, search your library for a basic land card, put it into play, tap, and shuffle your library. Cycling, sacrifice a land. Elvish Visionary, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Wall of Omens, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Thassa, Deep Dwelling, you don't have to put Thassa in here. She's just nice card advantage, but if you can't afford her, don't put her in. 4-drop, 6/5, Legendary Enchantment Creature God, indestructible. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, she's not a creature. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Pay 3 in a blue, tap another target creature. Sylvan Ranger, 2-drop, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Salvager of Secrets, 5-drop, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Wood Elves, I'm actually going to put that aside because that's pretty important. Wood Elves, 3-drop, 1/1. When it comes into play, you may search your library for a forest card, put that card into play. It comes into play untapped. You can grab any forest, it doesn't even have to be basic, and then you shuffle your library. But we only run basic forest. So, not that that matters, but I'm saying if you wanted to upgrade the mana base, that card's really good. Flicker Wisp, 3-drop, 3/1 flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Vizier of Many Faces, it's a clone. It has Embalm. That's about all that it does. Spellbook, skip your discard phase. Which means that you have no maximum hand size. That's what the newer ones say. It's really cool. I love that card. So, Settle Beyond Reality. 4 and a colorless sorcery, choose one or both. Exile target creature you don't control, or exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. We will probably be choosing both. Graceful Reprieve, 2-drop instant. When target creature dies this turn, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this card's really important. You're going to want to save this for an emergency because Precursor Golem is in the deck and that's how we win. And now we get to Precursor Golem, and this is where things start to get a little bit wonky. So I'm going to go grab the Repudiate Replicate because we're going to need it here in a minute. But things are about to get really wonky. So Precursor Golem is a 5-drop 3/3 Golem. When it enters the battlefield, you put 2 3/3 Golem artifact creature tokens onto the battlefield. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single Golem, that player copies that spell for each other golem that spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those golems. Here is why we have so many things that deal with abilities and targets and stuff. So we're going to make our entire deck golems. We're going to turn all of our creatures into a golem. And this causes a problem because we're going to get Precursor Golem down, and then we're going to try to flicker our entire board. And now we have that on the stack. So somebody casts a murder, let's say, on our Golem. Well, now we have a problem. So we have to get rid of the Golem's triggered ability, otherwise our entire board goes. We can't just counter the murder, we have to get rid of the ability. So that's why we have Repudiate, because that will counter the ability. But say we can't do that. Well, we have Graceful Reprieve, and so now all of our creatures are going to come back. They're going to basically flicker, and if a Salvager of Secrets was there or something like that, we can get back the Graceful Reprieve. So we have ways to make sure that we don't accidentally kill ourselves with our Golems. But do be warned, playing Precursor Golem in this deck can cause you to lose games sometimes. But that's the fun part. This is a meme Golem blink deck, but I love it so much because we can literally blink our entire board at once. And that's the coolest thing I've ever seen a deck be able to do. You bounce your entire board at once. Now, once we get things set up, we can actually do Replicate and copy our entire board an infinite number of times. And if you've not seen Precursor Golem with, Double Rite of Replication, if you do Double Rite of Replication kicked onto a Precursor Golem, you will end up with, I think it's 4 billion tokens. It might be 4 million, but I think it's 4 billion tokens. So if we could do Replicate an infinite number of times, how many tokens will we end up with after the, let's see, just the 10th casting? A lot. That's how many we will end up with. We will end up with a lot. I actually have a program that can calculate it, but I haven't run it through yet. So we're going to see how many it gets to, because it's a lot. So in case you're wondering why I have that, I was doing Brutaclad messing with Precursor Golem, but then, Duravi's actually better. So I got to take a drink and then we'll keep going. Almost dropped the cap. Okay. Moving on, we have Gideon's Sacrifice. Choose a creature or planeswalker you control. All damage that would be dealt this turn to you and permanents you control is dealt to the chosen permanent instead. So if you cast Gideon's Sacrifice while there's a Golem on the battlefield, it'll copy it for every single other Golem. And then weird stuff starts to happen. Because now you have a bunch of replacement effects. So you get to choose which one resolves first. I don't know if you trigger replacement effects again after that, or if you only get one go at the replacement effects. I don't know if it'll end up actually being able to go infinite with you getting to choose one and then the damage will be dealt there, but then you're like, oh, hold on, I want to deal it to this other thing. I don't know how that works. I just know that you should be able to stop it. Muse Drake, when it ETBs, draw a card. Mirror Image, it's a copy. Archaeomancer, you get an instant sorcery when it ETBs. Peregrine Drake untaps 5 lands. Altered Ego is a copy. That can't be countered. Shared Summons grabs 2 creature cards, put them into your hand. You have to reveal them. It's an instant speed. They have to have 2 different names, not an issue for Commander. Elvish Rejuvenator will grab us a land off the top 5. Put it into play tapped. Put the rest on the bottom. Fabricate goes to grab an artifact. Drift of Phantasms transmutes for a 3-drop. Otherwise, it's a 0/5 flyer that does nothing, because it's a wall, basically. Let's see, did I get rid of anything important? Yes, I did. Okay, we have Omniscience, we can cast spells without paying their mana cost. Shardless Agent cascades, which is nice. We reveal cards from the top until we reveal a card with CMC 2 or less, and then we can cast it without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, we put it on the bottom of our deck. We also put all the other cards at the bottom. Ghostly Flicker, exile 2 target artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under our control. That's our backup win con. Rampant Growth, it goes to grab a basic land card. Neoform, we sack a creature, we search our library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1, plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost, and put it on the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, then shuffle our library. This is really fun. So what we do is we get Derevi on the battlefield. We're going to Neoform the Derevi. So we go grab 4-drop. We grab Archaeomancer. We'll get back the Neoform. Neoform the Archaeomancer. Go grab Peregrine Drake. Then we just have to get the Archaeomancer back from our graveyard somehow. And if we can, we basically win. But Neoform is pretty nice. Arcane Adaptation. We're going to choose a creature type. We're going to choose Golem. All our creatures in our hand deck, everywhere that we have them, they are Golems in addition to their other types. And we are happy about things being Golems. Explorer, we draw a card, play an additional land. Xenograph does the exact same thing, except for it's only creatures on the battlefield. So we're also going to choose Golem. All our creatures are going to become Golems. Overwhelmed the Princess is another backup win con. When it ETBs, each opponent mills 2 and we scry 2. Muddle the Mixture counters the target instant sorcery spell, also has Transmute for 3. Vital Splicer, when it enters the battlefield, we make a 3/3 colorless Golem. We pay 1 to regenerate target Golem we control. I don't think it works for activated... No, it's only instant sorcery spells. But this is really nice because we can regenerate our Golems. And if we make infinite mana, we can regenerate all of our Golems, and that's good. Spark double copies something. If it's legendary, it's not legendary anymore. Prototype Portal has imprint. We can pay X and tap it and put a artifact, the artifact that we imprinted onto the battlefield, and X will be that artifact's CMC. We're going to use this maybe with the Precursor Golem. Mostly it's for use with Sun Droplet, so that we don't die. But we can also use it with some of our other artifacts. There were enough in here that it was okay to put it in, and we'd have backup things to put it on. Seasons Pass, 6-drop sorcery, return any number of cards with different CMCs from your graveyard to your hand. Put Seasons of Pass on the bottom of its owner's libraries, which is a wonderful card. Love it. Keep Watch, 3-drop, instant, draw a card for each attacking creature. This card is underrated. I don't know why it's not more expensive. I don't know why it's not in more decks. This card is stupid, and I love it. Trusty Pack Beast, when it enters the battlefield, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Search for Tomorrow, a 3-drop with Suspend 2 for 1. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. We have Forest Seek, it goes and grabs and plays on plains or an island and puts it into play tapped. Spring Bloom Druid, when it enters the battlefield, we're going to sacrifice a land, and then we're going to go grab 2 lands and put them into play tapped. Fiend Hunter, 3-drop 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, we may exile another target creature. When it leaves the battlefield, we return the exile card to the battlefield under its owner's control. This has the old wording of it being 2 separate abilities. So if you cast it and then target something, and then while that's on the stack, make it leave the battlefield, then when the first ability that you put on the stack resolves, it'll exile the creature. But since it already left the battlefield, there's no trigger to put it back into play. So O-Ring's the same thing, where you get to exile something and then it stays exiled if you can flicker the Fiend Hunter before it comes back. Ephemerate, it's going to flicker something, it has rebound. It's 1-drop instant, the thing is stupid. Unsettled Mariner, it's a 2-drop changeling, 2/2. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability and opponent controls you, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 1. And that's really nice in this deck because Precursor Golem. And so it'll work with wait, hold on. Does this... Oh yeah, so if somebody targets Precursor Golem with something, they have to pay 1 for every Golem. And that's why that's in the deck. Even though that's not the real reason why that's in the deck, but it basically is the reason why it's in the deck now. Crystal Shard, pay 3, tap it, or pay blue, tap it, return target creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1. We use that defensively, not offensively. Brought back, 2-drop instant, choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn, return them into the battlefield tapped. Momentary Blink, I love this card so much. It's a 2-drop instant, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, flashback for 4, and this is part of our win con. I'll explain why we can't just use Ghostly Flicker here in a minute. It's really stupid why we can't use Ghostly Flicker, but it's very important that we can't use Ghostly Flicker. Mnemonic Wall, it grabs an instant or sorcery. Thwart, it's a counterspell, but we can return 3 islands to our owner's hand rather than pay its mana cost. That's really good because when we're going off, we probably won't have mana initially, and so we're going to need to be able to do stuff like that. Sun Droplet, whenever we'll dealt damage, we put that many charge counters on it, then at the beginning of each player's upkeep, we can remove a charge counter from it. If we do, we gain a life. Body Double, it copies a creature in a graveyard. Foil, it's a counterspell, but we can discard an island and another card rather than pay its mana cost. Line of War Scout, 2-drop 1/3, tap it, put a land card from our hand onto the battlefield. Corridor Monitor, when it enters the battlefield, untap target artifact or creature we control. I forgot about this card. This is why we have Prototype Portal. One of the reasons. It's not the main reason. We're trying to do it with, what is it? I just had it. Sun Droplet. This is mostly in here for Sun Droplet, but if we can't get Sun Droplet, we at least have Corridor Monitor, which will, when it enters the battlefield, it's going to untap the Prototype Portal, so as long as we have 2 mana, we can make 1/4s for days. And that goes infinite. I'll show you why. Caravans sighted when it ETBs, we draw a card. White Main Lion Flash, when it ETBs, we return a creature to our hand. Lumbering Battlement, when it ETBs, we exile any number of other non-token creatures we control until it leaves the battlefield. Gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. It's a Vigilance 4/5 for 5, which is already stupid, but it goes infinite. Thraben Inspector, when it ETBs, we investigate, which is basically a draw card, and it's a 1-mana 1/2 that we can flicker, so I like it. Command Tower taps for any color in our commander's color identity. Blighted Woodland, it ramps us. Reliquary Tower, no max hand size. Mystic Sanctuary gets us back an instant sorcery. We run 11 forests, 11 islands, 10 plains. Not including the Mystic Sanctuary, which is itself an island. Okay, on to the infinite combo madness. This is why you all came here, I hope. I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but it better be something stupid. Okay, so we have Precursor Golem. We're going to make all our stuff golems. So whenever we target one of our golems with a spell, it's going to get copied for every other golem that we control. Then what we need on the battlefield is Peregrine Drake and Archaeomancer, and you're going to see that most of our combos are going to go around these two. And then, okay, so back up WinCon first. Ghostly Flicker, because this is pretty easy to understand. We're going to Ghostly Flicker targeting the Peregrine Drake and the Archaeomancer. So we're going to exile them, they're going to come back, and Archaeomancer is going to return Ghostly Flicker from our graveyard to our hand, and Peregrine Drake is going to untap 5 lands. Ghostly Flicker only costs 3 mana, so we're going to generate 2 mana every time that we do it. Eventually, that means that we're going to have infinite mana, which means that we can only target, we can choose to just target the Archaeomancer and our commander, and then we can tap everything down or untap stuff. And that means that we can do stupid things with our prototype portal. Since we have infinite mana, we can make infinite artifacts of whatever we put under it, which is supposed to be Sun Droplet, but it can be Corridor Monitor, and then that's going to give us infinite tokens in that case. So that is the main idea, is to get infinite Sun Droplets on the field. That's why I built this deck. But that's not what it ended up being. So we can do that to make the infinite stuff with the prototype portal, or we can do it with Flicker Wisp and Archaeomancer. And Flicker Wisp lets us exile our entire opponent's field. The entire field of all of our opponents until the end of the turn. And then it'll come back. But if we can somehow draw cards, which there's not, like, that's not hard, because we already have Archaeomancer, and we should have a draw spell in our graveyard, whether that be an Explore, a Growth Spiral, it doesn't matter. We should be able to draw cards. If we can draw cards, we can hit Lumbering Battlement and a couple clone spells. And what that'll do is it'll let us do a Lumbering Battlement loop. And if you haven't seen some of my other videos on Lumbering Battlement, which I've made so many because I love this card, basically, you get Lumbering Battlement down, you're going to exile a clone, and probably, in this case, nothing else, the Flicker Wisp. So you're going to exile the clone and the Flicker Wisp under the Lumbering Battlement. Then you're going to have a clone come into play. You're going to exile the Lumbering Battlement. When the Lumbering Battlement goes away, you're going to have these two enter the battlefield. And by the way, the clone is going to enter as a copy of Lumbering Battlement. But these two are going to enter the battlefield. This is going to copy the clone, which is a copy of Lumbering Battlement, and this is going to exile one of your opponent's permanents. Then what's going to happen is the Lumbering Battlement that you just exiled is going to leave play, and then our original one's going to come back. And we're going to exile these two again. And then we're going to have the clone come back, because we just exiled this Lumbering Battlement. And that's going to go infinite, and we're going to get infinite Flicker Wisp triggers. And then if we want to stop it, we just don't exile the clone. But what we can do is have the Flicker Wisp come in on the last time and flicker the clone. And then, at the end of the turn, we get everything that come back, all of our opponent's permanents, all the permanents that we flickered, everything comes back, and then the clone comes back last. And then we're going to copy the Lumbering Battlement and do it all over, every single end step. And so that means our opponents are only going to be able to play things on end steps. And that really limits our opponent's things. If you were to put in the 3-drop Teferi, that would literally stop our opponents from playing things. Literally, that would stop them from playing anything at all. But we don't own that card because it's too expensive and I sold it. So, this is the backup WinCon. Now, what is the actual WinCon, I hear you asking? Well, we don't use Ghostly Flicker. We use Momentary Blink. And so since this only targets one thing, Precursor Golems is going to make it target everything. And we love that. And so we're going to flicker our entire field, which is going to include the Precursor Golem, Derevi, Archaeomancer, Peregrine Drake. We're going to untap everything. Archaeomancer is going to get back Momentary Blink. That is if you order it the right way. So how you have to do it is you have to target Archaeomancer with the Blink. That way that the Golem will target everything else but the Archaeomancer first, and then those will flicker one at a time, actually. And then you'll have Blink resolve, go to the graveyard, flicker Archaeomancer, and then Archaeomancer will come back and return it to your hand. If you do it any other way, the Blink will end up in the graveyard, but after the creature that's supposed to get it back has already entered the battlefield, and that's very bad because then we don't get the Blink back. But anyway, we get Derevi, and Derevi's going to tap and untap everything and do a bunch of shenanigans, and we love that. And then that lets us go infinite with the Prototype Portal, make infinite Sun Droplets or whatever we want. But we can also do Replicate instead of the Momentary Blink, and that's going to create copies of everything. And like I said, you have to choose Archaeomancer as the target initially. And then, so this is, oh, hold on. No, this works. Never mind. This works. Okay, please focus. There we go. So this will give you infinite copies of everything on the battlefield. But because Precursor Golem does its Precursor Golem-y thing, this is what's going to happen if you do it. You're going to make a copy of Precursor Golem, and then the next time that you do it, because you can do it an infinite number of times, because you're going to get copies of Archaeomancer and stuff, which you really need another Salvager of Secrets on the battlefield or something, but you can already get infinite draws, like I said, so you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, you're going to be able to make copies of Precursor Golem, and then when you have two Precursor Golems, they're both going to trigger, so you're going to end up with four, let me see, you're going to end up with 2 copies of everything, which means 4 in total. Then you do it again, you're going to have 4 on the battlefield, which means that you're going to get 8 copies of everything. But what's stupid is the little precursors that, or not the little precursors, but I actually said that wrong. It doesn't double. This is why it's so confusing, because I'm confusing myself trying to explain it. So I'm gonna walk through it real quick. So you target it once, you get 1 copy. That's what happens. You target it twice, and you're gonna make 1 copy, but you still have the other triggered ability on the stack, which means that it hasn't targeted the other ones yet. So you make 1 copy, so you effectively have 3 on the battlefield, but 1's already been targeted. But the new one's gonna target the other 2, so you're gonna end up with 6. And then you do it again, and you're gonna hit the 6 of them, but that's only 1, because you still have 5 more triggers. And so you get 6, but then the next time that it happens, you get 12. And then the next time, you get 24. And it doubles each time, but it's for each trigger. It's not each cast. And that's the weird thing. And then the little golems that you get, like the baby Precursor Golems, the dummy golems, whatever, however you want to call them, they get really big really fast because you make 2 every time a Precursor Golem enters the battlefield, and you make copies. And like I said, you're making 24 just on your 3rd cast of the spell. You're making 24 on one of the triggers. Well, you're going to make 2 times that many little golems, which is 48, not including the golems that you're copying. This is why I made a program that calculates stuff like this, which I will leave a link to in the description. I just have to convert it to JavaScript. That way it's not whatever you call it. But anyway, I'll have it up on GitHub. You guys should be able to use it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not very GitHub fluent, but hopefully I can get it up there on GitHub. So anyway, that's what this does. That's the goal. You're going to get infinite tokens and stuff, and then flicker your opponent's board, and then the next turn you're going to swing in. Hopefully they don't have an instant that can disrupt you. But even if they do, like, it should not be hard to just bounce their entire field, do stuff like that. We have, what is it? Cry, or Flood of Tears, I mean, and Omniscience. We can draw our entire deck. So it's not hard to get rid of things. We can Fiend Hunter away literally everything on the battlefield. We can kill them with Overwhelmed Apprentice. Like, if there is a need to kill them soon, we can do it. It's just, that's not how we're supposed to do it. We're supposed to do this stupid combo, which you don't even need all these cards, but I said, don't think that you don't need these. But we're supposed to do but you do need this. We're supposed to do a stupid combo. And this is the stupid combo. The thing is, we can get to it so quickly, because the only thing that we need to start the combo going is these 3 cards. We transmute a 3-drop to get this. We use Shared Summons to grab these 2. That's all that we have to do to get them. We have draw, we have ramp. We're able to get to the win con very easily, because this is just enough right here. This is all that you need to start the combo. Everything else you can get with the draw spells that we have in the deck, with the creatures that enter the battlefield and draws cards, even with Derevi. This is already dumb, because we can get Derevi on the battlefield and just tap everything. And Ghostly Flicker's an instant, so we can do it at instant speed, and nobody can attack anymore. Also, we can stop them from having mana at all. So, you know, we can do the same thing just with 4 cards. This is the backup win con, but it's not as fun. And, you know, maybe people won't let you get to do the Precursor Golem thing, but it's really cool if you get to do it, and I love the interaction that Precursor Golem has with clone spells, and it's just a stupid thing to see go off. This deck was meant to be a fun deck, but still be able to play hardcore if it needed to, and I think I achieved that pretty well. Do be careful though, Precursor Golem can backfire. But that's the Precursor Golem Derevi Blink deck. It's pretty fun. So deck list in the description. I'll leave the application in the description. It'll be more like a website. Because how GitHub works is I'll put the code up, and then I'm able to make like a preview website where you can preview the code, and so when you preview the code, you'll be able to actually interact with it. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to set up the UI, because it's a lot easier for me to set up the UI using Khan Academy, which is what I normally use, rather than use JavaScript, but I should be able to do it. It might just take me a little while. But anyway, you'll be able to go there, you'll be able to see the preview, and then if you want to, you can actually see the source code, and then download it if you wanted to mess with it yourself, and just see what I did as far as the code is concerned. But I will definitely try and have that up as soon as possible. And yeah, that is Derevi Blink. Like I said, it's pretty fast. The games that I played with it, it did well. It didn't do insanely well, but it did pretty well. And it's able to do what it needs to do. It's able. That being said, it's not necessarily pretty. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video. Oh yeah, and let me know what you think of this video, if this deck list, and if there's any ways to improve it, because I am interested in improving this one. This is probably my favorite deck that I've built so far. I am going to be trying to do Brutaclad Sun Droplet later, where you make infinite copies of Sun Droplet using Brutaclad, which is in Izzet colors rather than Bant colors. Because Brutaclad will give you the combo piece on your commander, and Derevi, while it is a combo piece in the deck, is not the combo piece on your commander. And this ended up turning into a Precursor Golem thing rather than a Sun Droplet deck, which is what it was supposed to be. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of changes to that. But I'll see you guys with that video sometime in the future.